All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and talk about this video here. So check this out, guys. There's a lot of false information, a lot of false propaganda that is circulating around the internet in regards to what's going on in the Middle East, especially when it comes to Iran. And this could be very dangerous, guys, because, obviously, we do know now, majority of Americans kind of have figured out that, the Iraq war situation was a mistake, and now they're trying to drag us into another endless war with Iran, which is way harsher adversary. And so a lot of these people, I don't know whether they're agents or, they obviously have an agenda to spread this misinformation to get, the general American who's not really informed about foreign policy or geopolitics, especially not in the Middle East, right? They don't know what the fuck is going on. What? Iran? Where's that? So a lot of these people, guys, they just generally don't know what's going on, so they hire these agents to make it seem like that Iran's this big old threat to the U.S., and oh my God, they're like this close to launching missiles at the U.S., and we have to take care of this problem. So these people are spreading false information, and they're advocating for war when we should be diffusing war, right? Just kind of what Trump did, right? Because this guy right here, Officer Titties, the reason I call him that, this guy's a blind Trump follower, blindly following Trump. Anything Trump does is fucking amazing. Yeah, Trump could take a shit in his pants. Oh, Trump, you did an excellent job today, right? So, this guy here is just very ill-informed about geopolitics, foreign policy. So he's bringing this chick on who's like, we know that she's anti-Iran. Oh my God, Iran's like the worst. The Iranian regime is hanging people as we speak. They're 2 days away from launching a ballistic missile on a U.S. Oh my God, Iranian women are oppressed. When my last video, I'll pull out a video article that said that 75% of Iranian women are educated and are involved in the government and have high-ranking positions in their society. So again, a lot of misinformation to get the American public to buy into this whole bullshit narrative, right? So we're going to press play on this video, guys, and we're going to go ahead and see what they're talking about here.
You all mixed up, right? I thought you were a devout Muslim, and I was in before the show. I said, hey, I just want you to know I'm very critical of Islam. And what you said to me, I said, oh my God, this is going to be an incredible interview. But I was wrong about you being a devout Muslim, and that's probably why you gave me the response you gave me. But welcome to the show, by the way. And I want you to talk about this real quick, because I am very critical of Islam. And I will be honest about it. I'm very critical from the outside looking in. I have never been, I don't know anybody really that's Muslim. I don't know anybody that's actually practicing Islam seriously. And so me being
Yo, this idiot here is, and this is what I was talking about earlier. Like, I don't know how some of these people, like, they have these platforms. So this guy's over here saying, oh, I'm critical of something that I don't even know anything about or have met people that practice Islam. So this guy is like critical about something that he don't even know anything about. And this is what I'm talking about with the misinformation and the mediocrity of some of these people who like have a platform. Is you'll get someone like this who will start saying shit like, oh man, Muslims are X, Y, and Z. And then he'll go ahead and admit, well, yeah, I don't really know anything about Muslims, though. I've never even really met one, but I just know that they're killers. And this is the same propaganda that helped them push, the U.S.'s involvement into the war in Iraq, Afghanistan. Huge fucking mess because they're like dumbass fucking people like this guy. But let's keep playing.
The dangers of Islam.
Critical of the dangers of Islam.
Being, I guess your heritage is Islamic. So what's
Yo, did this guy say her heritage is Islamic? All right, man. So that's like saying your heritage is Christianity. Like, what the fuck, bro? Like, this guy, is he serious? Is he serious, bro? Who is this? Yeah, I don't know, bro. This dude.
What's your thoughts on that?
So let me just say from the beginning that, I'm from Iran, and our original faith, I guess you could say native faith of the land, was Zoroastrianism, which is a very, very old religion. And then I guess around 1400 years ago, Iran was subjected to these Islamic conquests where many Iranians either voluntarily or were forcibly converted to Islam. So that's how Islam comes to Iran. It was through conquest, it was through expansion and all of that stuff. You know, one of the main problems.
So, again, you know, let's just break that down. So a lot of Iranians too that come from, especially the ones that are exiled that used to follow the Shah, they don't claim Islam as their official religion. So they'll say that they were originally Zoroastrian, and this is all talking points that they've built up over the years to try and justify like why the regime shouldn't exist. We should go to war with them. So a lot of them will say, "Oh well, 5,000 years ago we were Zoroastrian." In 5,000, I'm talking about like before Judaism, before any of the monotheistic religion. There's this religion called Zoroastrianism that the people in that region used to practice. I think it's like some type of polytheist, type religion. I'm not too well informed about it, but they'll say that, and then, but in reality, it's like, okay, cool. Same thing with the Arabs that pre-Islamic conversion, they used to worship idols. Same thing with like several other civilizations. But today, modern day, today, 2025, there's 90 million Muslims in Iran. All right. That's a fact. Now, you could have secular Muslims. You could have Muslims that don't practice it. You could have Muslims that are hardlining. Again, but you can't just deny the fact that there's 90 million Muslims in Iran currently. You know what I mean? But these are some of the talking points.
About, when you are critical of Islam and people say, oh, this is Islamophobia, for example, one of the main problems is that it uses this shield of Islamophobia to prevent criticism, right? And the reality is that it isn't, you're not talking about Islam in the sense of, like a spiritual faith. We're not talking about, more than almost 2 billion people. Well, we don't know what the percentage, at least 75% of them who practice their faith.
We don't know what the
peacefully.
percentage is.
We're talking about the extremism. We're talking about fundamentalism. We're talking about Islamism. And the difference between that is that it isn't just
okay, so she doesn't know what the percentage is. So we're going to break this down, guys, because holy shit. Yes, there's 2 billion Muslims worldwide that practice Islam, right? And you have only 20% of those Muslims in the Arab Middle Eastern world, right? The majority of the Muslims are in Indonesia, or in like Africa and other places around the world, right? Only 20% of them are in like the Middle East and Arab countries. Majority of the Arab countries, like we know already, like that are allied with the U.S. and stuff like that, aren't, don't practice this form of radicalism that she's talking about. So you're talking about less than fucking 1% of the population that practices this crazy form of this ideology. Let's call it the ISIS ideology, because that's what she's referring to, which Iran is totally against, by the way, that came out of schools that are allied of countries that are completely allied with the U.S. Like Saudi Arabia was funding a lot of these ideologies. ISIS was created by fundamentalists in Saudi Arabia, right? That say, we need to expand and we need to bring the caliphate back and all this other. So all these talking points, are from a regime or a country that's completely allied with the United States, that's funding a lot of this stuff. And what's funny is, this is the kicker, right? That Iran has been fighting these same people, and this is what a lot of people don't want to tell you. A lot of people don't want to tell you. Iran has been fighting these same people who have that twisted ideology in Syria for 11 fucking years. And all over the Middle East. Right? And so that's the kicker, man. And in Iran, you have like 2 million Jews there, 3 million Jews that serve in the, military in Iran. So again, these are stuff that they leave out.
Prayer and faith and spirituality, that is a political ideology that believes in expanding itself across the Middle East and the entire world, and inflicting as many casualties as necessary to achieve that. And that political Islam, which is called Islamism, that is something that must be criticized. It must be.
Yeah, everyone agrees. ISIS.
If you care about everyone's right to practice their own faith, you saw that they just killed 22 people in Syria in a church. They killed 22 Christians.
What I tell you guys earlier. What was I talking about earlier? right? She's talking about the Islamists in Syria, which is practically ISIS, who are at war with Iran, by the way, right? Because they don't. Again, these are different like ideologies, and honestly, even on both sides, both sects of Islam, they denounce that form of that ideology, that type of radicalism that comes out of our greatest ally, Saudi Arabia. That so happens, right? So, again, that the person in charge of Syria has a completely different ideology than who's in charge of Iran. And so you see how they kind of try to tie everything together. Like, oh my God, they're all the same Muslims. They're all the same groups of people, same ideologies, kill them all, so that's the type of, misinformation and twisted, manipulative bullshit that they try to spread. But yeah,
because they said this land must only be Islamic land. That is something that must be criticized.
So I want to ask you this, because I feel like you're so much more informed about this, obviously because of your family and people that you know, and you coming from Iran. Like, what is the difference between the two? Because I often feel like Islam is this, and people who are peaceful are not practicing Islam the way it's mentioned in the Quran. Now, I could be wrong, but the extremists, in my opinion, are like orthodox. And the people who are peaceful are saying, we are not going to go that far because we're not going to be able to exist in any of these peaceful countries. Am I accurate or am I off?
No, you're absolutely right. I think this is sort of one of the central issues, is that, sometimes people try to divide these things. There's peaceful Islam, which is practiced by the majority of Muslims, and then there's this extremism of Islamism, which is political Islam, which is expansion, which is all of these things. But the problem is that Islamists, the people who are these political behind this political Islam, they're people who say, actually, no, we are the ones that are interpreting the Quran correctly. This is exactly what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to spread Islam everywhere. It is required of us. So I understand exactly what you're saying, because within these two factions, there is also this internal disagreement where peaceful Muslims are like, this is what Islam is supposed to be. And the extremists say, no, this is what Islam is supposed to be. But I think it's less relevant. It's less relevant what it is or what it's supposed to be. And I think what's more relevant is the fact that this extremism does exist, and it just shouldn't be tolerated.
And we see that extremism, at least in theory, of the concerns of the extremism with all the terrorist activity Hamas is doing, in my opinion, subjugating and occupying Gaza against the will of probably most people in Gaza. And then also we see the conflict in Iran. I want to talk to you about those two subjects, because from what was told to me in my notes is that you are a person who is supportive of Israel, and you understand the conflict that's going on in Iran from being an Iranian or from Iran, and also the conflict that's going on in Gaza. So what's your thoughts on Israel's approach to the Islamic terrorists and the threat of Islam from Iran and also from Hamas in Gaza?
So it's really important to see all of these things as connected. And since October 7th, this is exactly what I've been trying to show people. So let's just start with the Islamic Republic that's in Iran now. Okay, so this regime comes to power in 1979 through a revolution. And once this regime is established, it tells us that its foundational doctrine is to America, to Israel, and a desire to expand and export its revolution out to the rest of the world. So the entire world would be under something that's called, well, either a caliphate or an emirate. So this is it's another way of saying that the whole world would submit to Muslim rule. So in furtherance of it's something that's called velayat faqih. The Islamic Republic system is called velayat faqih. So in trying to export that out to the Middle East and the rest of the world, they engaged these proxies like Hamas, like Hezbollah in Lebanon, like Houthis in Yemen, right? And one of the main things that they need to achieve before they can establish this domination is the eradication of Israel, because
all right, so let's break a couple things down here, man, because there's a lot of horse shit going on. So first and foremost, the Israel, like, as much as like people want to deny it, especially like clowns like these two, they've been occupying and pretty much Gaza's an open air prison. The people there have been in a concentration camp for the past 20 years. Open air prison. They've been occupying, stealing land from Palestinians in the West Bank. Now, Iran had, essentially assisted the Palestinians, the Lebanese, everyone in the region from Israeli expansionism, because their whole goal is to establish Greater Israel, which you guys could, we could pull the map up for you guys, because see how they play that narrative that, oh my God, Israel's the fucking victim, when they have like they're the ones that are starting a lot of these conflicts, and are responsible for arming Hamas, because we already know that these people were funding a lot of this shit because they wanted to, again, delegitimize the actual Palestinian cause. So they want to fund these like Muslim Brotherhood Islamist extremists. So this is what Greater Israel. Most Israeli generals will wear this map of them expanding their borders onto where they occupy other people's lands. And when you even look at the Palestine as what it was, this is a more outlined look. So they want parts of Egypt, parts of Iraq, parts of Syria, even parts of Saudi Arabia. So this is all in context Greater Israel. This is where essentially they claim that the Jews used to in their empire, the Jews used to occupy these lands before like the Muslims came and Islamicized it, or the Crusaders came initially, and then the Muslims came after that, and then there was the Persians and the Assyrians and all types of different empires that occupied those regions. So Israel's trying to establish this, and by doing that, they have been in constant conflict with these countries in the region. Now, the situation in Palestine, they've been chipping away at the West Bank for the past, since 1948. So they've been, settling in other people's houses. They've been kicking people out. There's a huge influx of Palestinians in Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, and, different areas around the Middle East where Palestinians were essentially exiled from Israel or from, occupied Palestine. And so what these clowns do, guys, is they'll try to switch the narrative and be like, oh no, but Israel's, because they're expanding, they're expanding, and they're looking to expand all the way to Iraq and potentially parts of Iran. And so this has been going on for years. They've been aggressing on the different countries in this region for several years, right? But clowns like this will sit here and be like, "Oh no, it's Israel. They're under constant attack. They're under constant attack, and they're being victimized because they're Jewish." And the crazy part about it, as sick of these people are, because they have again, one of the best militaries in the world, probably in the world, right? Best intelligence agencies. They have highly technical, operational armaments. They could strike somebody if somebody's on the 6th floor of a building, they'll strike the entire 6th floor without taking the building down. These people are highly advanced militarily, thanks to the U.S., really, right? And by the way, we give him like $3.8 billion a year, a whole lot of aid. So people like this will twist the narrative and make it seem like that these individuals are being victimized, and that the countries around them who have been economically deprived, right, and have not even, just absolutely deprived and isolated all over the world, right, are somehow like this huge fucking threat to Israel, and that they're going to one day take it over. And not only that, this is the kicker too. Israel has peace treaties with a lot of the surrounding countries that are like, yo, we don't want to go to war with Israel. Egypt has a peace treaty with them. Jordan, Turkey's pretty much cucked in a way they do business. Everyone's accepted the state of Israel in that region, except for Iran and a few other people. But everybody, so much so, is already bowed that they're like, yes, we'll let you keep your fucking state. Leave us the fuck alone. But it's them constantly trying to expand, right? And when you have a person like Netanyahu and his regime, which is highly problematic, they're very right-wing fascist, right-wing radicalized regime, you know, now they're like, oh, this is the opportunity to make it happen. All right. I'm not saying I agree with what happened on October 7th. I don't agree with it at all. I condone anything to do with killing civilians, but that's what essentially started that's what gave them the green light to wage this endless war, you know, somehow making Iran complicit with everything. Like, oh yeah, Iran's the problem. And at the same time, committing a fucking genocide and ethnically cleansing a group of people. I mean, people, you can't deny what's going, the international war crimes and the crazy stuff that's going on in Palestine and Gaza. You know, there's visual proof that this is happening. Anyways, man, I don't feel like listening to these fucking clowns, to be honest with you guys. But yeah, this is some of the stuff that, you know, again, these people will try to come at from a different angle, and it's like it's completely wrong, right? Completely wrong and distorted. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.